Emilia Perez is the story of cartel boss Manitas, who decides to undergo gender reassignment surgery and fake their own death, starting a new life as a wealthy philanthropist woman. The titular Emilia Perez. She accomplishes this task with the help of a lawyer played by Zoe Saldana, who she essentially forces into the situation, yet they become besties anyway. The other main character of the story is Selena Gomez, playing Manitas' wife, believing herself to be a widow, spending most of the film partying or sleeping away the pain. The story gets extra complicated when Emilia decides she wants her family back, so she reintroduces herself to them as Manitas' long lost cousin and moves in with them. A kind of fucked up Mrs. Doubtfire, if you will. And that's the basic idea of the story. Emilia must hide her former identity while finally embracing the one she has desired for so long. But wait, I left out a crucial detail. This movie is a musical. No, wait. Let me correct myself. This movie is a terrible musical. Now look, I'll be honest, musical is not my favorite genre. There have been those I've enjoyed, like the Beatles jukebox Across the Universe, or the feel-good hit of the summer, Les Miserables. I've loved many a classic Disney cartoon with song and dance, but nowadays I hardly get excited by the prospect of a bunch of singing and dancing on screen. That being said, I'm a firm believer that every film has the power to win me over, and I went into this one hoping it would charm me with its catchy songs, creative choreography, and beautifully directed set pieces. I mean, this film is nominated for 13 Oscars this year, making it one of the most nominated films in history. It must be good, right? Wrong! This movie is as good as its best song, which is to say that it barely approaches passable. Almost every single song in this movie is grating in the way it is delivered, both in the music itself and the movement of the character who's singing. The lyrics are more often than not just directly stating what's happening, lacking the nuance or subtlety of a more traditional number. I mean, they will just straight up sing, "You want a sex change, penis to vagina." Frozen's Let It Go would have been more discreet. Beyond that, they're just not the kind of tunes I could really ever see humming to myself or finding some kind of emotional release in. One of the many nominations this film received was for directing, and I gotta be honest, I went into this movie with a little bit of a bias in the back of my head, because, quite frankly, like many others, I was shocked that Denis Villeneuve did not get a nomination for his excellent work on Dune Part 2. I'm very biased to that movie, and so while watching this one, I was expecting to be absolutely floored by the directing on display. Jacques Audiard has delivered one of the flattest musicals I can remember, flatter than my delivery even. For a story that is so soap opera-esque and filled with so many emotionally dramatic scenes, there's just really no emotion behind any of the songs in here. In fact, really the only one that I liked in the whole movie is between Emilia Perez and her son, who doesn't know that he's singing to his father about the memories that he has of said father. And I thought that was really sweet. But outside of that, there's really nothing that tugged on my heartstrings at all. And beyond just emotion, the music itself is just not utilized in any way that I think is entertaining or captivating. We have a cartel musical here, people. A movie about a cartel boss that has faked their own death to become a woman. There should be so many crazy sequences in this movie, and there just isn't. I don't understand how it can take place within a culture as vibrant and colorful as Mexico and revolve around scenarios that are so dangerous and potentially violent and just have nothing of interest going on for the majority of the film. It just becomes this movie about how this cartel boss kind of feels bad for their past, but not really. So Emilia Perez decides that she wants to become this philanthropist, right? She's gonna be the savior of Mexico after bringing so much misery to it. But that doesn't really make up for the things that she's done in the past. We're supposed to be watching this character and kind of sympathizing with their journey, especially as a character that has felt uncomfortable in their skin for so long. But the movie never really gets to a place where we're willing to accept the moral change that has taken place in this character, at least not for me. I feel like she, again, is responsible for who knows how many deaths, has profited off of hardcore drug trade, literally begins the movie by intimidating Zoe Saldana into helping her. And yet we're supposed to be cheering for her reinvention. We have to remember here that in faking her own death, she abandoned her children and partner. And the fact that she comes back and pretends to be their aunt is just kind of disturbing when you think about it. Yes, that's part of the drama that inevitably plays out in the third act, but there's not the level of sweetness here that I think that Jacques believes he's instilled into the picture. We're supposed to be feeling this tragedy that Emilia is so close but so far from the thing that matters to her most. But the thing that matters to her most is not actually her family, it's her identity, and the things that she's willing to do at the end of the day are pretty selfish. Adding to the selfishness of Emilia Perez is the relationship she develops in the movie. After becoming Emilia and becoming the head of this charity organization for those that are looking for their displaced family members in Mexico, she crosses paths with a woman who she strikes up a relationship with. And this would be all fine and good in another movie where it's like, oh, okay, this is a sweet little romance happening now. But this movie has the added context of the fact that she abandoned her wife, not because of a lack of sexual attraction to women, but because she wanted to be a woman. But you're just left with Selena Gomez sitting around in the next room over, crying her eyes out because she thinks that her husband is dead, and then when she tries to get a new boyfriend, Amelia Perez gets up her ass about it. So you're just watching this and you're like, okay, lady, so you're allowed to abandon your wife and start sleeping with some new woman. But the second she wants to go back out on the town, you're going to lose your shit? Like, what? She's just so unlikable. The whole movie, you're just waiting for this powder keg to inevitably go off and for everybody in her family to find out her true identity. And we don't get there until the very, very end, and we really only get it with Selena. Towards the end of the movie, Selena Gomez decides that she's gonna kidnap Amelia Perez with her new boyfriend in order to maintain her wealthy lifestyle. Just as a side note, really quick, that makes her character super unlikable. So, like, everybody in this movie is an asshole. But, anyways, she does that, and during this kidnapping attempt gone horribly wrong, Amelia Perez finally reveals to her that Amelia Perez finally reveals to her that she used to be Manitas, and Selena Gomez has just the most basic, like, oh, I'm so happy that it's you, my husband's still alive reaction, when she should be freaking out right now. She should be so upset that Amelia has done this to her. She made her think that her husband was dead for years and then came back and gaslit her into thinking that she was a completely different individual and lived alongside her and tried to parent her children and created these strange dynamics that all could have been avoided if she was just honest with her. And she just lets it all go instantly. Like, whatever, you're my husband. And she decides to betray her current boyfriend, and it leads to this car crash that kills all three of them. And I just couldn't bring myself to feel anything other than sympathy for Zoe Saldana, who, even in death, is still stuck dealing with Amelia Perez's shit because now she has to raise her children. The end. I can appreciate the over the top soap opera elements of it all. The story is pretty goofy, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I don't mind going to these unrealistic extremes sometimes, especially in a musical, but they didn't capitalize on that. They didn't make a crazy musical about the cartel dancing around with their leader that wants to become this feminine icon. No, they didn't do anything interesting. They just gave us a bunch of flat, horrible songs and a story that, outside of the can you believe that this character is doing this kind of stuff, is pretty much completely forgettable. The one saving grace this film has is Zoe Saldana's performance. Even though she's trapped in not even a mediocre movie, I would say a bad one, she is giving it her all and definitely deserves the nomination that she got this year. Her performance as a career driven woman who becomes the confidant of a cartel boss is really the only thing that drives the movie forward. She's the heartbeat of the film, the voice of reason for Emilia, and a reflection of the emotional stress that having to watch this movie makes me feel. If you couldn't tell by now, I really didn't care for this, but good on Zoe for giving it her best. I'm gonna have to give this one a Doubtfire. Hey, you. Yeah, I'm talking to you specifically. Thanks for watching. Now it's your turn to let me know what you think in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed the video, maybe give that like button a click and subscribe to become a member of the flock. That sounded a little more culty than I wanted it to.